All you Joey Fatone fans, get out.
Now, there wasn't a rivalry between Backstreet Boys and NSYNC, but here comes the rivalry, right?
Unless, of course, you're fans of mine as well. And if you don't know, stick around until you're so revoked that you have to leave, and then you can go.
Well, how was your trip, Mr. Tork?
How was the trip? Well, you know what they say, the best surprise is no surprise, and so surprisingly, it wasn't surprising.
Certainly.
It's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. I'm trying to learn my Groucho. It's a little late. Nobody much remembers Groucho Marx. But when I was in Africa, I saw an elephant in my pajamas. What an elephant was doing in my pajamas, I'll never know.
Yeah.
They are thronging in right now in the waves for you, Mr. Tork. Guys, get those questions ready, because I'm sure Mr. Tork will
Because
be...
I'm going to answer about 1/10 of them.
So get 10 of them ready, and one lucky winner will receive an answer to their question.
Yeah.
And the answer is God. Or higher power, as you may experience him, her, it, or them, depending, of course, on your experience. And I recommend experience. There's the guy that, when I was, you guys you're here, right? And you know who I am, so, and you're still here, so.
Yeah.
You guys know that there was this movie called Head.
Yeah.
Thank you for that over. How are you? And those of you who have seen it, which is probably most of you, you may remember there's a couple of scenes where my character, it's so hard to tell us apart, sitting listening to the guru, and then later giving a speech roughly to the same content, trapped in a box. And I didn't know what the speech was all about. Never did figure it out. I mean, I figured it out much later. But I was talking to Jack Nicholson about it, who incidentally, Jack told me not to drop names.
Can we have a Jack Nicholson impersonation?
No.
Oh.
I haven't got the slightest idea. Nope.
Well, there we go.
Hit me over. Well, pissant. Jack said that he was reading the spiritual leaders of the time, the gurus, the great gurus of the day, and the only one that made any sense to him was Krishnamurti, whom I recommend, but whose basic message is, don't take anything anybody's told you at face value and say, I believe it because so-and-so told me, or because this is what they told me over there, or I learned this in school. I mean, you have to operate like the things you learn in school are probably right, but what, when somebody says, well, they got some, 2,500-year-old dinosaur bones, you're supposed to go, that doesn't accord with what I was hearing, and I don't know, I don't have a carbon-14 dating machine myself, but I understand that dinosaur bones are like millions of years old. So, being skeptical is what he was talking about. And it's been, and I've gotten more skeptical, and as a result, more faithful over the years. Interesting. How does that work? Okay, let's have a question. Have I answered all the questions?
I thought we only know one.
The Monkees are the greatest band of all time.
Thank you. That's you. Wait. I can't hear you over here.
And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and as I told you before, you are the greatest musician of the 20th century, period. I want to know, I had asked about next year, 50th anniversary of Monkees. Very excited. You and Mickey are touring.
That answers about 75 questions here, doesn't it?
Have you talked to Mike lately
No.
about anything?
Nothing about
Nothing
nothing.
at all.
Not the time of day. How's it out there in Mendocino or anything? Nope, nothing. Not a word. Not for most of. Let's see. It'd be about a year now.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to be touring anywhere solo at any point?
Given my druthers, I don't tour solo at all. I did for, 2-3 years ago, I did a solo tour. And I had a fairly good time doing it, but what I really like to do is the Shoe Suede Blues. And now that it's, and the Monkees thing, the one for fun and the other, because it's my trade, it's what I do, and I have a good time up there. But the sheer fun of music is in Shoe Suede Blues. I mean, it's a great thing to be singing words and Last Train to Clarksville and Anti-Griselda and things like that. But come and catch a Shoe Suede Blues show and see if it doesn't do the same thing for you as it does for me, which is something.
I was wondering, do you have like a favorite author that you really enjoy?
Do I have a favorite author that I really enjoy? No, not really. There are. What I read for pleasure and leisure, I read detective novels by and large. Right now, I'm rereading Red Square by Martin Cruz Smith, I think is it. And it's like 25 years old, and I'm having a great time reading it. And I enjoy that kind of thing. And among those authors, I have a few great favorites. The best of all time is Dashiell Hammett, but he wrote about the 40s, so it's like, gee whiz, it's like me listening to somebody, reading The Three Musketeers in the original French or something. Yeah, who cares? But as to like spiritual books or books of that kind of thing, the Tao Te Ching, which was written by a guy whose name translates as the old guy, is to me contains that's the secret of everything. That's the core truth. Other than that, Shunryu Suzuki. Okay, there goes. Don't talk about core truth. Oh, stop. Okay.
We want to thank you for coming here, and I hope that you'll put Knoxville on your tour for the 50th anniversary. But I want to ask you.
Oh yeah, I forgot to answer that part, didn't I?
Did you remain in contact with Davey, and were all of y'all able to go to his funeral?
Well, Davey was, a partner of mine almost up till the very moment he died. So can't do much. I couldn't keep up with him after that. And as to the 50th, we have blocked out that Mickey and I are going out in the spring and in the fall for a month each, and we may come into your town.
Yeah.
Ave Maria.
Oh, no.
Oh, come on, you're going to sing for me.
I might. So as a singer, what tips would you give me for longevity and range, working with range and stuff?
Longevity in singing and keeping the voice. I learned you had a hand raised in the very far back there. Okay, we see you, thank you. Funny thing, I was just talking about this guy came and got an autograph and said, by the way, I'm a choral teacher. And oh yeah, boy, now get in a conversation. Two things. One is a book I read just recently by the opera singer Renee Fleming, who talks. It's not a book on how to sing, but she talks about the things that happened to her in the course of her learning to sing, which have stood her in very good stead. Tips on breathing, and something about the work ethic in and of itself, and what's ambition and what are you doing and why and all that good stuff. And in the meantime, I started, for the first time in my life, only this last couple of years, I've gotten to the point where I'm thinking about the techniques of singing just as a technique. I'm having a good time. I got a lot out of a website. The rest of you, excuse me for just a minute, I'll be back with you. a website that I was interested in about biofeedback and biofeedback machines for singers. And this one guy is selling a biofeedback machine along with some software. And the point is, how do you keep your larynx down? Those of you who know anything about singing know that when you go, ee, it's not the same as when you go, ee. Quite a difference. One, my larynx was up, and that's sounding like Mickey Mouse if you're not careful. And the other, dropped the thing. One voice book I read said something like, it's like you're always yawning. Ha 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 ha. So that kind of, keep the larynx down. That's the big thing. And get that, go check out I just do a YouTube video. That's there. And just, oh my, let me see. Oh, okay, thanks. Where are you, Mr. Man with the microphone? Okay, good. Hi.
How did it feel to be bigger than the Beatles at one time?
To be visiting?
Bigger than the Beatles.
Oh, bigger than the Beatles. Well, I didn't know it at the time. Ringo, for one, is pretty short. And none of the other guys is that much taller. So, they told me this afterwards, and I don't think it's not really exactly true that they said we outsold the Beatles and the Stones at one point, but that was because those other guys just happened to be between albums at the time, and we had an album coming out. I think it was Headquarters came out just before Sgt. Pepper, so boom. Mickey, you guys probably know that the song that's called Randy Scouse Get Here was called alternate title in UK because you couldn't say Randy Scouse Get in the UK for teenage records. So they called it alternate title, and it went straight to #2 and was cut off at the pass by something from Sgt. Pepper. I forget which one, but I never went into did we outsell the Beatles. That was kind of fun to think about now. Oh gosh, the Monkees outsold the Beatles, but that's cute. But it's never been a thing. The thing about the Monkees for me has always been how did we bring ourselves to the business of being the Monkees, and for better or for worse, and however well we did. So it's cute, but it's not a big deal for me. Thanks for asking. Where are you? Up here.
Hey, I noticed that you've always been influenced by both traditional folk music and blues music. Do you feel that those two genres kind of come from the same place or tie together at some point? And when would Shoe Slave Blues play more dates in the Deep South like Alabama?
Well, folk and blues, the folk and the blues that I grew up with as a kid, it was starting to, when I was just coming up as a young folky, Yankee folky hippie in New York, the stuff that we heard was starting to be collected. Pete Seeger himself was actually a collector. He actually was a musicologist, went around and collected songs and wrote them down. And they were starting to get recorded by people with portable recording machines. And those are the songs that we kind of came to, and pop music at the time was really awful. And so and it was just, it was more commercial than it is today, relatively speaking, taking inflation into account. And those of us who were looking for ways to have something a little realer were going to folk music. This was between the Little Richard Elvis era of rock and roll and the Beatles. There was a slot in the middle where pop music was like Patti Page singing, "How much is that doggy in the window? The one with the waggly tail." You should pardon me, but so the folk music was the thing. Now, there was a little blues in my household. My mom loved jump swing music, the great boogie woogie stuff, and but we didn't hear a whole lot of it, and so what I was doing with my friends was just folk music. But when I heard the blues, I went, "That's amazing." And it was another world for me. It was way out of my grasp. So stuck with folk music, and then came rock, and the Beatles came back and took back, and in essence brought the Little Richard stuff back into pop music, and then we came along and we were trying to kind of do the same thing, only, well, sort of like we imitated the Beatles, who imitated Little Richard, who made some R&B stuff. But more recently, I've just been playing the blues as much and as long as I can, and I'm getting better and better and better at it, and I'm finally figuring out what it means to be a blues musician, and so I don't know how that answers your question, but pick up on this stuff.
Okay, two things. It's quick. I'll make it quick. One, what will it take to get you guys in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? We got to do that. And the other thing is, The Girl I Knew Somewhere, was that the first thing that you guys did collectively for recording purposes?
Answer to the second question, yes. The Girl That I Knew Somewhere was the first thing that we actually sat around and worked up and then recorded. As to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, who cares? I don't. Let them do it, let them not do it. As far as I know, it is Jan Wenner's certain conviction that we were cheats and robbers and thieves of all that's good and holy, and if he has anything to say about it, we'll never get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And all I know is if there was a Hall of Fame for TV casts that made themselves into pop groups, we'd be the only candidate. Where's he at? Okay. Keep going to the back too, you can. All right.
What was your favorite Monkees episode to film?
My favorite Monkees episode to film? Well, I had a lot of fun filming the Paris episode because I got to run around and do odds and ends of things. My favorite Monkee episode to watch is the fairy tale episode because the cardboard sets and the costumes and what was the one with Mickey as Goldilocks? Well, Papa Bear kind of wanted me to stick around.
Okay, hi. One, sorry for crying on you. Two, I was like, okay, anyway. I wondered if your life, if you could just, go out in public and not really be recognized as you were then, if people really still stop you and say, hey, you're, this guy, a little bit? Okay.
I live in the country. I live in the northeast corner of Connecticut. That section of Connecticut, which is called the Quiet Corner. Somebody once told me that a nighttime satellite shot of the northeastern seaboard from north of Boston to south of Washington, D.C. is a blanket of white with one black hole. And that's where I live. The northeast corner of Connecticut, very quiet, and there are places where I go regularly, and I taught school for a little while. And when I first started teaching school, the kids were going, oh my God, it's Peter Tork, Peter, oh my God, it's Peter. And then after a while, it's, hey, I forgot my homework, the dog ate my homework. After a while, it's like somebody with a radical birthmark or something, When you first meet them, it's like you can't take your eyes off it. But if you get to know them, you don't exactly forget about it, but it just becomes just part of the background. And that's the way it is for me. Occasionally somebody around town will go, oh, I grew up with you, or gee, or they get, crazy. But it doesn't happen very often because most of the people have seen me around. There's not a lot of people in that corner of Connecticut, and almost everybody knows I'm there. So once in a while, cars will go by my house and they'll stop. And I'll go on.
Hey, Peter. I was just wondering, what is your memory of...
What memory? You know what happens when you get old. Memory is the second thing to go.
Well, do you have any memory of, being in Abbey Road Studios while the Beatles were recording their album?
No, I didn't do that.
Oh, you didn't?
No, Mickey was there.
Oh.
Mickey went there. What was he? He said they were recording forget what he said they were recording, but Mickey says that he went in there in hippie regalia and they were wearing slacks and shirts and they were not dressed up as, they weren't wearing colorful anything. They were just, shirts and but I didn't go there. I didn't see him. I don't even know where Abbey Road's studio is.
So everybody always tells you that you're their favorite band. So like, what's your favorite band? Like, what gets you pumped?
My favorite band?
Or musician?
Well, when they were current and they were coming up and every album was a new adventure, the Beatles were my heroes. These are the guys. And because they knew the blues and they could do the blues, and they could sing blues notes and they could play that was really the spectacular thing. Nowadays, if I listen to a nice jump upbeat song from Muddy Waters or Howlin' Wolf or Albert Collins or Albert King or something, I mean, if I'm listening to a mix on the radio and an Albert King song comes around, my head, it's like, because there's something about the way that man played guitar that just grabs you by the lapels and won't let go. And it's just the way he plays. He plays so simple too. Incidentally, anybody want to learn how to play a little blues guitar? Get an Albert King record and copy it, and you'll know in about 10 minutes if you can get the feeling. It's about the feeling. Very simple stuff.
Hi. I just want to say that.
That's not a question. I know you want to. Go ahead.
I just want to say that as a preteen growing up in the 70s, that other than Elvis, you were, I got to see you on TV as a child, and you just really just opened my eyes to a whole new kind of music. And I'm a big techie kind of person, and I love the video and the song for Daily Nightly. How neat was that, playing with that kind of synthesizer type apparatus? I mean, were you guys like the first to play with something like that?
So we believe, yeah, we think so.
Yeah.
We had a guy named Paul Beaver come in and play the synthesizer for a record, and he played da 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 da, and Mickey's eyes got wide, and he bought a synthesizer. And when Mickey played on Daily Nightly, he didn't play da 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 da. He went whoa. I was talking to somebody. I went to a party at Mickey's house, and bringing a friend of mine along, and said, "Oh, look, there's the synthesizer that Mickey played on Daily Nightly." And Mickey came down the stairs. I just was telling my friend about what you did on the synthesizer, and he said, "Yeah, it's even better when you let it play itself." And he turned about 3-4 knobs and turned it on and started to do. Never repeated, all by itself for a half an hour. It was and Mickey's a genius when he's not thinking, when he gets an idea. Zip, 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 turn it on, the most magnificent set. Anyway, so I didn't have anything to do with the synthesizer, but it was a joy to watch Mickey play with it.
Hi, I have a two-part question. The first one is, what was your favorite record to work on, like as a whole?
Oh.
And my second question is, what is your favorite quote?
My favorite what?
Quote.
Quote?
Yep, of anything.
Quote. The favorite record to work on was Headquarters, because that was the four of us sitting in the studio and with Chip Douglas playing bass and actually making the records, just letting the music emerge from whatever it was we were doing. I said we should go back into the studio, and Davey said, "Well, you guys you were doing 60 and 70 takes on each song, and I sitting there playing tambourine. I got my part on the first take." He said, "I don't think I can stand it anymore." So, but still, for me and Davey was really being very kind, because he knew ahead of time this was what he was going to have to go through. Later on, when we did, in '97, we did a thing called the Billboard, there's some videos of that on YouTube. Billboard had a club, and we played a half-an-hour set, mostly of the tunes from Justice. And Davey played rhythm guitar, and suddenly there was this, we were a much richer band for that. So, but he didn't play guitar at the time of Headquarters, and so but for me, you know, playing the piano and creating those things apart on Shades of Grey, and I worked on it for about 10 minutes, and I came up with this, and I said, that sounds pretty good, and I think it sounds pretty good today. So, but a quote, I don't think I can answer that. I don't. What's yours?
Not all who wander are lost.
Not all who wander are lost. Okay? George Harrison once said, if you don't know where you're going, any road will take you there, which is somehow the same thing. Thank you. Yeah.
What's your opinion on music nowadays?
Well, my opinion, basically pretty much the same as it always is, which is there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. I have not heard much of the high gloss, top of the line, loudest, most professional pop music that I liked. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It just it's like I'm overpowered with the production, and I don't. You know, always something good. You know, the stuff that climbs the charts, that gets all the approval, gets approval for a reason. You know, people are not stupid. They didn't suddenly get stupid in the last 10 years. If anything, they got smarter. But I don't get it very much and very often, and I don't go there. I don't listen to mainstream pop music radio. But there's a college where I live, and they have a station, and they play some alternative stuff. They play some old jazz too, and they play contemporary alternative, and some of that's fabulous. You know, there's great singer-songwriters out there, and great musicians, and the standard of musicianship is better than it's ever been. And that's what I think about music nowadays.
In '66, the Monkees were an NBC show, Star Trek was an NBC show. Did the two groups ever cross paths?
No, but you should know what happened between us and the Flying Nun. Actually, Sally, the Flying Nun was also a Colombian. I don't know what network it was on, but it was produced by the same people that were producing the Monkees. And there was what we call the back lot, which is an outdoor lot, which later they, you know, sold off for housing. But at the time they had, you know, the main street, the square street set, the little old sea shanty set. They had all. It was great. It was my favorite part of being in the Monkees was running around these old sets. And Sally was on the set with us, and Sally Field, the Flying Nun. And at one point we had this scene where the Monkees are supposed to be robbing a bank. Probably must be the villain's bank, because why would we otherwise do it? And we're supposed to be backing out in a cowboy hat, just a Western set. And we're backing out of the thing, guns blazing. And for fun, we shot that the four of us came out, me, Mickey, Sally Field, David, guns blazing back out. And they shot that. And, you know, it's not going to go anywhere, but at the next day, what they call the dailies, producers and people watched the shots that were shot the previous day. And just to amuse them, we took that shot of Sally coming backing out of the bank. So Sally was a fabulous person too, incidentally. So.
Hello.
Hello.
Firstly, my dad is somewhat of a joker, so I'm not sure if this is true. But he said you used to pull like a banana out of your hair or something. Is that true?
No.
Okay.
Nor any other part of my body.
But yeah, he said you used to like pull a banana out somewhere like before in the first song of a show. Maybe that was someone else.
No. No. Not a banana.
Last laugh on that one. Okay, I think we've got one more question up here.
We got a little time, right? So.
Mine's a two-part question, but what's your favorite Beatles song, and what was your first reaction when the Monkees first went on tour?
My favorite Beatles song, boy, I don't know. Lady Madonna, maybe? Because that kind of, great beat for me, maybe. So many really fabulous songs from the Beatles. It's hard to keep up. Before the TV show hit, there was a publicity campaign going on, designed to make all the teenage girls love the Monkees. And we went on a publicity tour where we went to TV stations and said, hey, these boys are going to have a TV show come on all NBC outlets, of course. They'll be on the fall schedule, and here they are, But outside, when the little teenage girls knew we were going to be there, they were already excited about it. And one day I was standing on the second floor on a mezzanine. It was like a big square overhanging the room. And I looked down and I see, half a dozen girls. I'll sign autographs. And I did not know that there were about 300 that I couldn't see right below me. And they started to come up the stairs and they were pulling at my shoestrings and tugging at my pants. And these guys finally had to come sliding down the banister and move the girls aside and yank me back out. It was the most amazing. I had never seen anything like it in my life. I could not imagine it. It was scary for a while. And I didn't get it. I didn't, what are you doing? I went to a Beatles concert before the Monkees went on the air, and in Dodger Stadium in LA. And the little girls and mostly young women screamed at the top of their lungs. And I'm like, you guys, this is the greatest rock and roll group of all time, and you're not listening. What's up with it? What's up with that? And then when we started touring and doing actual shows, I first started out, well, you guys are listening to the records and you like the records, so why aren't you listening to us play the records? Because you're not as good as the records, you guys, you stupid, which we weren't, it's true, but that's all right. But I finally figured it out. And here's, at least to my own satisfaction. A young girl dashes into the house. She gets off the bus, dashes into the house, throws open the screen door, dashes in, the screen door goes slam, and the mother says, how many times have I told you not to let the screen door slam? Go out there and come back in and close the screen door quietly. Why aren't you expressing yourself? This is still the mother talking to the daughter, Don't let the screen door slam. Don't be exuberant. Don't yell. We have to keep quiet around the house. Why aren't you expressing yourself? I thought you used to like to draw. I don't know why you're not doing that. So you go to a Monkees concert or a Beatles concert or a Stones or Justin Bieber or whatever, whoever. And it's a chance to let go. So that's what you do. Right? You ever been to a concert like that? One Direction. Did you scream? Right. Mr. Cameron.
Oh, I was going to ask if you have any final words of wisdom to impart upon us?
Yeah, I keep these handy. Words of wisdom, I keep them stashed away close. And it just popped out of my mouth at one point for no reason that I can figure out. And then later on, somebody asked if I would actually speak at my old high school and give the commencement address. And they said, you have 10 minutes. And I said, 10 minutes? I've got so much to tell you. I don't know. So as I was working on it, I finally figured out what I wanted to say, and I put it out on the computer, and I read it out loud. Lesson 6. So I guess I didn't have quite as much wisdom as I thought. But the secret is that, but the core little bit is this: be a hero to yourself. The whole thing about, and it comes from like one of the, not Superman, not superheroes or any of that kind of stuff, but the heroes coming out of us from the fairy tales and the classic Greek myths and Hercules and all of that stuff. These stories, Hercules, most of the myths follow pretty much the same story. Born high, raised low, given an impossible task to do in order to succeed, which the hero does with help. And the secret of the myth, and the reason that all of these myths, which are, I mean stories, not myths in the sense of false things, but like real myths, Greek myths and all, the reason that they're all alike is because they're telling the human story. All of us are born into, you know, and you think, the baby thinks that, you know, they think, you know, that they're in the perfect world. They're hungry, they get fed, you know, they're wet, they get changed. Everything's perfect. And then you grow up and suddenly things become problematical. What do you mean I can't just do anything I want, you know? And you think, my God, the king must have sold me into slavery or something. Every kid goes through this. And then comes the big deal, because what nobody's telling us, nobody's teaching, is that everybody has got to accomplish, do an accomplishment. And you can't do it by yourself. And you need help. And with help, you can do it. Now, what's the nature of that help? I can't tell you. Some people they just go straight to God, and that's enough. Other people need a community. Other people need some kind of recovery. If you've got that kind of a problem, the recovery community is good for that. But whatever it is, you can't do it by yourself. You must join your community, and with your community, you can get through life in a good way, for the most part. So that's what the hero's story is. And so when I say be a hero unto yourself, I mean take your own life as being the hero's story. You're all born high and raised low. That's what happens. It's the human story. But you're in charge of your own lives, and you can accomplish something really solid with help. And so be accepting of the help, being accepting of yourself as the hero of your own life, the hero of your own story. Be your own hero. Don't let anybody else be your hero, okay? Let me just close with this. There's a joke about the Buddha. If you see the Buddha on the road, kill him. Now, why would we say a thing like that? Because you are the Buddha. If you think the Buddha is on the road, you're surrendering something important about yourself. Because we're all on the Buddha path. We're all Greek and Roman heroes. We all have a cross to bear. Every one of us is all of these things. So be a hero unto yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Peter Tork!
Be sure to visit Mr. Tork at his booth, where he will be signing, smiling, and telling more wisdom stories.